why mindset matters. I think lack of belief is the world's biggest problem, right? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And most people are just stuck. Most people feel trapped. Most people are around other negative people who also feel trapped. And so you might occasionally have this idea that great things are possible, but then you fall back to the negative mindset and everybody else around you and you stay stuck. I just came back from speaking at 2 events in Phoenix at Genius Network. And the first one, people pay $25,000 a year to be in. And the second one is you pay $100,000 to be in. My last day, I had a morning coffee with a guy who had sold his business for over $200 million and now is helping other entrepreneurs be more efficient and productive in their businesses. And he picked me up from my hotel and we drove to his house. And his house is more like a compound. It's not just a house. It's like a house and then an entire house just for his recording studio, plays guitar, and another house just for his Taekwondo studio for him to practice, and like 4 houses in one house. And more than any bit of advice that he gave me, and similar to just being in those groups, it's the mindset difference. It's like trying to do life at a bigger level, trying to have an impact at a bigger level. And for most of us, we are that source of positivity for other people. We are the ones believing in other people and pouring into other people and telling them that they can do it and giving them love and encouragement and support. But who's telling us that we can do better, and in a loving way, not like you should be doing this. We got lots of those people, but who's pushing you in a loving way forward? And for the most part, we don't have those people. So that's why I love a group like this. That's why I love groups like Movement Makers, and just in general, trying to be around more optimistic, positive people, because sometimes it's hard for us to carry the whole burden of positivity and optimism for ourselves. And so if you are the most optimistic person you know that's in your immediate circle, that's a problem. You know, like it's great that don't stop pouring into other people, but if you don't have anybody who's pouring into you, then that keeps us stuck and it keeps us small. And so the mindset shift to feel like, hey, I can do more, I can be more, I can serve more, I can have a bigger impact, I think becomes really important. So the whole idea of you are the 5 people you surround yourself with really matters. And if you don't know anybody, then get in a group or come back to, a group like this, or even just through content, right? That I haven't met Elon Musk yet, but I get inspired by his videos and his content and his moves. Like Elon Musk is buying Twitter. What? Doesn't he already have 4 of the companies that he's running or something? It's like, it just makes me question what I'm doing, not in a negative way. Like I think comparison actually can be really beneficial. A lot of people say, don't compare yourself to others. And I think people just compare themselves incorrectly. They look at somebody else and then they kick themselves down and say, I can't do it. Where I like it as a kick forward. Say, wow, look what Elon Musk is doing. I should be thinking bigger. And it's an inspiration to go off and do more. Otherwise we stay stuck and stay small. So anyway, that's my little quick riff on why mindset matters. Thank you, Samar, for the topic. And let's open it up. Tony's got his hand up. What do we got, Tony?
I have a personal training and nutrition coaching business for 35 years now. And for 33 years, I was doing everything in person until COVID hit, switched everything virtual and online. But for probably the past 8 years, since I was about 45-ish years of age, I've been posting nonstop Monday through Friday on Facebook. I've been emailing Monday through Friday to my emails. I started doing Instagram maybe a couple of years ago as well. I feel lost in that kind of virtual world.
So we went through a great exercise this morning, Movement Makers, where I told them that my number 2 platform is now TikTok. We decided last week that YouTube is number 1, and it still is number 1 by far. But I've switched in the past week from Instagram to TikTok as number 2. And so part of it is being smart with where you're at, because you could be producing the best content ever, but if you're on Facebook, like Facebook has been dead for a long time, right? There's 0 organic reach on Facebook. It's a fantastic ad platform, but it sucks for content. Instagram is slowly not dying, but becoming less and less and less and less and less relevant. It's harder to rank. It's harder to win. We covered it a little bit today, but the Reels is still going to be your best bet now. Like no more pictures. It's Reels. So I need to see Reels. I need to see short form video content. And then TikTok is definitely picking up steam. Like we're over 500,000 followers on TikTok and 250,000 on Instagram. And it's taken me like 6 years to do that on Instagram and a year and a half or whatever on TikTok. And we're barely taking TikTok seriously, right? Like Instagram's been number one and we just kind of post whatever to TikTok and that thing is blowing up. And it's becoming an education place as well for people. So it's not just somebody commented like 16-year-old teenagers dancing or whatever. There's still that and there's fun, but it's also becoming an education platform. And the easiest thing to do is go search for what you're doing, what you teach, and see what's on there. And you'll see that, hey, there's actually education content on there. So I love that you're making content, and I love that you're an expert and you've been doing this for so long and you want to serve. I would look at, if I was getting started now and I didn't have traction, I would do YouTube long form and TikTok short form, but then I bring to the other platforms. I would probably completely abandon Facebook unless it was just easy to post or you had some kind of community there already. And the long form YouTube videos would be not hugely impactful in the short term, but you've been doing this for a while and you want to keep doing this. And so getting, whether they're actual workout videos that you're going to do, whether they're coaching sessions that you have with clients, you're imagining someone's going to see this in a year and 2 years and 3 years and love what you're doing and sign up. YouTube is if you want to get off the kind of rat race, the hamster wheel, whatever, YouTube is it, because when you make content in a year, it's still relevant and valuable and can drive traffic. Every other platform it's like Instagram, it's instant. It's only what's happening right now. Doesn't mean that it can't help or can't convert, but choice of platform and choice of content. Like if you're doing pictures on Instagram, it's just gone off a cliff. So it's short form video. Everybody wants short form video now, plus long form on YouTube. So I'd look at if you're not consistent on YouTube yet, I'd look at once a week making content, 10 minutes plus, no upper limit on how long you can go. And then a daily short form for TikTok that then you take to the other platforms.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Lady Lexi, what do we got?
Hi there, Evan. Today is the Dutch Liberation Day, 77 years ago. There are a number of festivals. They are still going.
You say Liberation Day?
Yeah.
Dutch Liberation Day. Oh, okay, great. Well, happy Liberation Day.
Yeah, so that's May 5th. And with everything going on, I'm like, I need to go to Rotterdam, go to one of those festivals, make a recording. But I'm like, okay, what exactly am I going to talk about? I cannot just address all the people there because I don't have a press badge or anything. So how do I make that work? Because I feel like it's so important that we get to speak out. And so I can either go there or I can do it from here. What would you suggest?
Well, hold on. What are you speaking out against? So okay, Dutch Independence Day. Cool. Today is 77th anniversary.
Years
awesome.
ago that we got liberated by the English and by the American, and there might even be some Canadian.
Okay, so the idea is, hey, you need to, like, you want to recognize them having, I don't know, was it a revolution or was it a, like how, like they're speaking up for themselves?
Freedom is so important. And I mean, especially with what's going on in the Ukraine, it makes my heart cry. Since my motto is about speaking up and speaking out, this is about people back then were, of course, being delegated basically to the camps and put to work there, and they were not recognized as people. So it's not necessarily that I want to speak out for what happened there. I just want to say like, okay, let's celebrate freedom. Let's remember that it's important that we do speak up and speak out what we see and what we find should change, and also on a personal level.
So, I mean, that could be a great, so if the message is speaking out for freedom, then that's something that people can connect with, because we want to target ideally the world, not just Holland, right?
Yeah.
So most people wouldn't know that it's Dutch Independence Day, or however many years it's been, or how Holland even came out of, like most people know the story. And the story almost doesn't matter unless it really means something to you. But if you were going to go and make it not just what happened 77 years ago, but where do people need more freedom right now? Like, it's a good trigger as a reminder. So I'm Canadian, but like we have Canada Day, but it's not really that big a deal in Canada. But Americans take their Independence Day pretty seriously, right? And so on July 4th in America, if you were to go off and talk to people about freedom, but then make it reflective as to where do you not have enough freedom in your life right now? And not just from like the government imposing something on you, but your own situation. Like, where are you stuck in a relationship? Are you stuck in a bad career? Are you stuck in bad habits? Are you stuck with an addiction? Like, if you can tie the need for freedom to something they're facing right now in their life, then it can lead to speaking up, like for yourself. If you're in a bad relationship, hey, maybe you need to get out. If you're in a bad career, maybe now is the time. So you can use this event as a spark plug to create some change. So you could go, if you want to go to the event, you don't need a press badge to talk to people. You just go on the street and you ask people about what freedom means to them, but then make it relevant to today. It's like, well, where do you not have enough freedom right now, do you think, in your life? And then guiding them to a path of speaking up.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a big step for me, dressing people randomly at a festival. But
listen, lean in on that, because this is now you speaking up.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a good challenge. Absolutely.
You've never done it before. And this is now you going after your freedom, because you don't want to have that blocking mindset anymore.
Yeah.
And you may have people who say, no, I don't want to talk to you. No, I hate you. I mean, whatever. You're like, think of like worst case scenario. But you'll have some people who will talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. And then maybe I can do some short lives, and then later on make it into a big one and post it on YouTube.
Honestly, the biggest win out of all of this isn't the content you're going to get from them. It's from you pushing yourself outside the comfort zone.
Okay, that makes sense.
The fact that like one person might say yes to you and you're so scared to ask people to come on, and then you get one person to do it, even if it's not the greatest conversation of all time, like that forward momentum and you breaking through, like that should be a video. You should film yourself going and how scared you are and whatever thoughts are in your head. And you're basically speaking up to your own thoughts to say, you know what? No, I'm going to go do this. And even if I embarrass myself, if nobody talks to me, I'm still going to go off and do it. I saw a great clip yesterday on Instagram where this guy was a stutterer. So he gets nervous and then he can't talk. And his coach, I know you guys have seen this, his coach had him go out in a busy area and go up to people and ask them to like, hey, can you help me for a second? And all he then would ask him is, what time is it? But it took him forever to get it out because he was so nervous. And when he gets nervous, he starts to stutter. And so he's like, excuse me. Like they're sitting there waiting for him to like, what's going on right now? And eventually he says, what time is it? And he also just shared the story with them. Like, I'm a stutterer and I'm trying to be less scared and stutter less. And so this is part of my homework. So even you sharing your story, like that's like the biggest win of all is you sharing your story that where you're afraid and the mental block, so that you get your own freedom from those limiting thoughts too.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I can just take my phone. I don't need any microphones or anything, right?
Yeah. Especially if you're doing two people, because if the microphone's just here, then it's harder to share. And don't worry about the gear. Just go do it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll do. Thank you.
I love it. Cool. Good luck. That's super exciting. How long would you take and what exact steps would you take to build a list of a few hundred people, serve and launch what they need? So as a starting point, I would pick a platform. Where do you like to engage? If you're going to be YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you're talking about how to get a few hundred people to know about me, where do you like to engage? Clubhouse is what we talked about today in Movement Makers. Where do you like to engage? And then you can have a little bit of content, but I think the best thing, if you're just trying to build a couple hundred people, is to go and connect with people on other people's accounts.
So you're leaving comments on YouTube, you're leaving comments on Instagram, you're responding to people on Twitter, you're joining people's rooms on Clubhouse, you're DMing people on Instagram, right? You pay attention to the platform, just pick one platform and then give as much value as possible so that they want to connect with you. They want to follow you. They want to see what you're up to. They love the energy, right? A lot of this is just an energy game. Part of why you guys are here too, it's like there's an energy every week that we get to do this, with me, with Zane, with the whole group, that people need that. And people need your energy. They need the love and the yes, the strategies, but they need the hope and the belief that you can give them. By hanging out with you, they feel fired up to go do something else. That it doesn't just have to be motivation, rah, rah, but just the fact that you're there listening, supporting, cheering them could be enough to have them take one extra step. So that's what we do at the beginning. You start leaving comments, thanking people, saying hi, giving your opinion, feedback, thoughts, suggestions, and people start to connect with you and follow you. The next thing I would do, again, just to answer this question from Salima that you guys voted on, is I would try to get on some calls with them to figure out what they're struggling with. If you're trying to figure out what they're, how can you serve and launch what they need, get on some calls. Either Zoom calls to get to know them better. It's like, hey, thank you for following me. I'd love to learn more about what your business is all about and how I might be able to give some guidance, feedback, help, suggestions. So Zoom calls are a great way to get to know people. I default to public stuff. So I barely do any private Zoom calls. If somebody's asking me for help, if it's like a high up person, okay, fine, we'll do a private Zoom. But for the most part, it's like, okay, let's do this on live. Let's go live on Instagram and figure this out. Or join me on the live stream where I do my gaming with Zane and Drew 4 days a week at night. Come in live and ask us questions. Or if it's somebody in this group, it's like, hey, come to the Insiders Readers group and ask your question. And the more that you actually start connecting with people, the more you'll start to figure out what their challenges are and how you can help them. There comes this moment where, this is why I love recommending doing coaching first before anything else. So for anybody who wants to write a book, do speaking, have courses, have materials, all of that, if you can start with coaching, that lets you try out your ideas on somebody more than you. Because it worked a certain way for you. It's not going to work that way for everybody else. You have the way that it worked for you. And there's a certain number of people who can fit into that exact same way. But as you start talking to people and coaching them and working with them, you'll find other paths to be able to help them, which then makes your book more powerful, which then makes your courses more powerful, your training more powerful. So as a quick example, when I was writing Your One Word, my first book, this is the book. This right here was the original book. This thing is crazy. This is 140,000 words that we then cut. Half the book got cut to 70,000 words, but this is one of the original 30 copies of the book that I printed off and gave to my test audience to read. One of the things in Your One Word was helping people find their one word, which is their who, right? That transition to becoming your who. There was one guy I met in a coffee shop named Derek here in Toronto, and I was helping him through the who process. It's like, okay, this is it. This is easy. Here you go. Let's ask him questions. The 5 questions, what did you love about your parents, and who's your favorite teacher, and your favorite movie, and all of these things, right? The usual questions that work for people. He's like, I can't get it. I don't know. I can't figure it out. And so I'm struggling sitting there in the Starbucks trying to help him figure out what his who was. And then I realized, okay, let's just try something out of left field. How about we go negative? Instead of all the positive things, how about we go negative? Like, who are not the people who you love and why? Who are the people that you hate? And not that they're bad people, but who do you hate, or what is it about them that you hate? Like, think about the people, your worst teacher, the person at school that you hated the most, the colleague or boss that you hated the most, that you don't want to spend time with them. Great. What are those characteristics? And then the opposite. So when we figure that out, that's what I call the anti-word. And then the opposite is your who, is your one word. And so that coaching process led to a change in how I wrote the book. Because for me, it's easy to default to the positive. I don't think about the people I hate. I'd have to struggle to go back and like, who do I hate and why? But for some people will. And it's easier for them to figure out their path. So ultimately, I want to serve. You guys want to serve as well. So that's where you've got your methodology that work for you, and can work for a small percentage of people. But when you start actually talking to people, coaching them, helping them, you'll say what worked for you, but it's not going to quite fit. That hat won't quite fit, So the more that you can do the coaching, you'll get a couple more ideas of how to be able to reach people by workshopping it with them. And then that makes you a better coach, but it makes your products better, your books better, your services better, your everything. It makes it all better because now you've actually worked with people through it as opposed to only having helped yourself. So the more you can actually start to get some feedback, that may feel slow at the beginning because you've got to talk to people. But all of those things help make you better for your ultimate ambitions of when I'm speaking on stage. If there's, I did one yesterday. We did this virtual coaching summit. It was like 1,000 people or something in the room. When I'm talking to them, I know the messages work because I've said the same message to 1,000 other people before on the one-on-ones, right? So that's what allows you to scale and hit a message. So talking to a group of people is really just talking to a bunch of individuals. So I hope that helped. That was a fun little topic, Salima. I hope that gave you some value. Whoever's got a question, raise your hand on mic and let's do it. Evan is ready to go. Okay, what do you got, man?
I do have a question. I was saying before you got on, I've had very limited time because I've just been so busy in my business and can't find employees. Nobody wants to work, whatever. So the little bit of content I have done, I feel like I'm repeating myself because of my story and kind of like what my core is, but it feels stale to myself, like on how to mix up the same message, if that is your message, without sounding repetitive to those of you who might follow on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a couple things.
New, but not turn off the existing.
I know. I hear you, man. Listen, I've done over 10,000 videos about belief. There's a lot of repetition. Like there's only so many unique stories you can share about believe 10,000 times. So a couple things that helped me. One, recognize that even though it feels new for you, it's not new for the audience, right? So there's always new people who've never heard this message before and they need to hear it. So just the fact that you said something 2 weeks ago, a lot of people haven't heard it yet. And the way the YouTube algorithm and Instagram algorithm and every algorithm works, it's only hitting a small percentage of the same people every time. So you have to love the students more than the material, right? So if you how does your favorite teacher growing up teach the same history class every year for 20 years and not just go bored out of their mind? It's the same content. It's because it's not about the content, it's about the student. It's different students every time. They love the teaching process. And so it's about getting out of your head and into the audience's head. Like they haven't heard this before, so I'm going to show up for them. Because I know you and I've seen you in action and I see how much you care and love about people and I see how much you're always trying to raise your hand and get involved to serve and share your story. If it's just you in your office by yourself or in the car or whatever, it can sometimes be hard to make that connection. Or if Andrew was sitting there in front of you and you're sharing your recovery story, it wouldn't feel like it's repetition because you see Andrew's eyes light up, right? And so it's just trying to think to that connection to the people who are behind the camera. That's one. Two, just because they heard it 2 weeks ago doesn't mean they don't still need the message, right? It's especially with what you're doing with addiction recovery. One day somebody might feel great and then the next day they're back to where they used to be. They need you every day. And for everybody watching, people need your hope, your inspiration every day because they don't have those role models in their lives. So just because they heard it 2 weeks ago doesn't mean, okay, I got it now. Now I'm good. Now I never need to hear it again. Right? I mean, that'd be amazing if that was actually how it worked, but that's not unfortunately how it works. So most people haven't heard the message before, but even if they have, it doesn't mean that they still don't need it again today. And so again, you might be getting bored with it, but it's putting yourself in their shoes so that go back to who you used to be when you're lying and hiding things and cheating on your values and all that stuff. Like that Evan needs this Evan, right now. And then the third thing is just try to challenge yourself to come up with new stories just as a skill to learn. So when I'm making my videos, sometimes it always relates back to foundation story and depending on what the topic is, but I'll often push myself to try to think, okay, what's happened in the past week where I can share something. So even think about what happened to Nina this morning, and like having to postpone movement makers, at least me, and like rush to make all that happen. That could be a story for a video. So it's always a challenge to say, okay, it may not be as big a deal as me like breaking my neck and going and continuing the tour. But instead of always telling the break in the next story, I could tell this new story. It doesn't matter as much for the audience. I think it's just more for you as a speaker, as a challenge to think about, okay, where do you still doubt yourself? Even though you've been sober for 7 years or whatever it is, where do you still find challenges? When have you maybe almost thought about going back or falling down, and sharing those kinds of stories of something that's happened, recently, just as a fun challenge and improving yourself as a speaker.
Yeah, it was called COVID.
Yeah.
Seriously, 3.5 years. I came close twice. Really did.
Well, so share that story, right?
Yeah.
Like what happened that led to that? And it may not be, it's not as bad as when you were in the depths of it, but this is why like showing the vulnerability is really important, because people could look at you and say, well, look at him. He's got it all figured out. He's got this, great business, this, fancy suit on, his beautiful office. He's got it all figured out. It's like, no, guys, I almost relapsed because this happened, because I lost a deal, or because like whatever was the thing that happened to you, people connect with that. And it's another great story to share. So COVID's great, but even this week, something has happened this week that, again, it may not be all the way down to relapsing, but where you doubted yourself, where you didn't do your morning routine, where you didn't show up like you wanted to, where you didn't work out as hard as you wanted to, you didn't make the calls like you said you were going to do, like wherever you disappointed yourself or let yourself down or had some negative thoughts, that message is still going to be super valuable. And it's a nice challenge to force yourself to tell a new story. Doesn't mean you forget about the old stuff. That's still super valuable, but I like it. I think it's a good challenge for yourself just to continue to improve as a speaker. Rick, what do you got?
Hey, everyone. One of the things you did talk about was the laminated like golden pyramid that has the 3 level of engagement.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The bottom one was
thing. Yeah.
Zan should have it. The bottom one is layer is yes. Personal connection, and then partnership, and then thought leader, content creation. Can any part of that pyramid actually be, I guess, offloaded, hire someone to do any part of it? Or should I still be, controlling all 3 parts of it?
All of it can. At some point, you have to be involved in the process. So, for example, at the top is thought leadership. So you could delegate out the editing and the research and the scripting and the caption and the thumbnails and the like whatever, but you have to be on camera, or you have to like your soul has to be in the thing. If it's going to be videos, if it's going to be written, you could work with a writer, but your soul is the asset. So you have to sit there. You still have to be involved to like, what is the message going to be to get it out, right?
Sure.
But everything else can be delegated. Partnerships, you could have somebody reach out and ask, hey, would you like to partner with Rick? Would you like to have him on your show? Would you like to hear more about what Rick is doing, right? But at some point, like Rick has to show up to do the thing.
Right. Okay, so just the admin part of it, where someone will make the call to, like, basically, to schedule the time with me. So I still need to step in to be the actual partner, right?
Yeah, you're the heart. Like you're the heart. So the heart has to come out. So if you have a budget to hire somebody part-time or full-time, then you look at, what do I like the least? Here are the steps that have to happen. What do I not want to do in here? What do I like the least? And that's what I want to give up, right? So I did not like video editing. It was my least favorite thing to do. So it was the first person that I hired was a part-time video editor. And that let me move from a video a week to a video a day, because now I didn't have to worry about editing. I could give that to somebody else to do. But I still had to be in front of the camera, right? If you're going to be the leader. So, so just make a list, and whatever you don't like the most, as soon as you have a budget, you delegate that stuff out.
All right, great. Second question, I guess, very completely different. Regarding, your belief, and salsa dancing, they're like completely different thing, right? I mean, you are being quoted by Ed Milet to be the modern day, Napoleon Hill, right? As a beginner, I'm building my YouTube channel and all that stuff. Naturally, I would want to build videos that are about my business, what I'm good at. But I would have thought on your end, you would build videos on salsa dancing, teaching people how to dance. But instead, you're DJing a lot of all these not mental strength, but more like a personal growth belief type of videos to like basically into your brand. Can you shed some light on the thought process on this, or like what should I do next type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, it was super humbling when I met Ed at his house. He invited me over and we talked strategy, and he said, "You're like the modern day Napoleon Hill." It's like, that's amazing. Can I use that? Can I quote you on that? That's pretty awesome. And shout out to Evan Tinsman, who's got Napoleon Hill right there on his wall behind him. There, that's the giant faced, Napoleon Hill. Yeah. I think the advantage you have is going all in on you. So I'm always Evan Carmichael. I'm always trying to spread belief. There's a lot of different ways that I do it. So in some rooms, I'm the YouTube guy. In some rooms, I'm the entrepreneur DJ guy. In some rooms, I'm the salsa guy. In some rooms, I'm the League of Legends business guy. It's all me. And I think that's great. Like, I think you should have a hard time explaining who you are and what you do, right? Like when somebody says, "Hey, what are you doing? Who are you?" I think it should be hard to explain it. If you just say, "Well, I'm an accountant" or something, you're like, nobody likes those boxes. Now I have a lot of different channels because we have so much content. But if I was you, I would explore with different kinds of content. Like I like the DJ stuff. And that was Gary Vee who called me that, right? So I didn't come up with that name either. He's like, "You're like the content DJ who inspires people." I was like, "Ooh, can I use that?" That's what.
Yeah, of course, you use them and then you put it on the banners. So that's how I'm able to re-quote it back to you, right?
Well, because I forgot what they said too. So it's nice to have the quote there as a reminder for me too. But that's what saved me, right? Like modeling success is the thing that saved me. And so now I try to bring that to my channel so that other people can hopefully learn from it as well. Salsa dancing is how I met Nina. And I run the largest salsa dance studio, at least in Canada, which is struggling right now because of COVID. Like it's the least COVID friendly business in the world. So like the YouTube stuff is blowing up and the salsa business is on life support. Like let's get vaccinated and try to make this business stay alive. But even the salsa business was never about how to dance salsa. So if you, I taught at the school for a couple of years as well. I taught the highest level class. It's how I met my wife, Nina. And every now and then on Movement Makers, we'll do a little salsa dancing in advance when Zan plays some salsa music for us, which is super fun. But if you were to join the class, it was still believe. Like joining my salsa class, I'm going to teach you some moves, but I'm going to really teach you how to believe in yourself more. Because when you learn something that you didn't think you could do, you leave a more confident person. Like I'll show you how to, I'll demo this crazy move that you've never seen before. And you look at it and said, "Wow, I'm never going to be able to do that." And then an hour later, you're doing that. Right? So it's believe. You don't join the school just to learn moves. You learn the school to build friends, become more confident, and believe in yourself more. So there's a lot of different ways. And why did I do that? Because that's how I gained belief in doing that myself. Because I went to a salsa school and I sucked. And then I got better and I learned. And then that gave me more belief in myself. So everything I do is believe. I just have different routes to do it. I'll do it through DJing content. I'll do it through my own thought leadership. I'll do it through Movement Makers. I'll do it through writing books. I'll do it through League of Legends. We answer business questions and help people believe while you can watch me play games. I do it through salsa dancing. Everything is belief. And so whatever your who is, it should flow through everything that you make. And it's okay that some people, not everybody knows that I can salsa dance. That's okay. when I go on shows, they're like, how do you want me to introduce you to my audience? It's like, whatever you want. You don't have to read my official bio. You know, if you love that I made that one video 3 years ago and that changed your life, perfect. That's how I want you to introduce me. Right. And so as long as like the thing that's consistent is believe. Everybody hopefully knows me for believe. That's what I want people. Hey, if you want more belief, go connect with Evan, follow Evan, be a part of his universe because you're going to get more belief. So the question today was from Chris, who said, what do you believe should be our area of laser focus for online businesses for the balance of the year in terms of engagement and growth? I think the biggest thing there is just actually posting the content that you're afraid to post, like sharing the story, the message that you've got that you're afraid of being judged on, and post. This is actually really timely because this morning in Movement Makers, Zen, before anybody showed up, Zen played this song called Pata Pata, which is this South African song. The artist was known as the Mama of Africa. And I love that song. And it's a cha-cha song that Nina and I danced to a lot. And Zen didn't know that I liked that song. And so after we got off Movement Makers, that song was just in my head. And so I decided for some reason that I needed to learn the lyrics of that song because I kind of hummed along. You know, when it's a song in a different language, you don't quite know what they're saying. So I was and there's like one line in English, so that's the one that you always get. Anyway, so I then committed an hour today on a day that I don't have an hour to learn the lyrics of Pata Pata. And I started filming it on my Instagram stories to ask for help. Like, does anybody speak this language? Does anybody know? Because it sounds like some of the syllables she's saying, she's skipping it. She's not actually saying it. So I'm stressed out. Like I'm trying to figure out how do I get this song out? And now I'm asking for help. And then I keep at it, slow the song down to 50%, slowly going like syllable by syllable until I finally feel like I got it. So then I share, guys, I think I got it. I think she's this THI is silent. And then I keep practicing. And then I get to full speed and I film it. It's like, here I am full speed and I'm rocking out on my trampoline, singing Pata Pata and, you know, in this language I don't understand. And then I get so animated that I hit my phone and it falls down. And that's the end of the video. And I shared the whole thing on my Instagram story. And like, that's the type of content that people don't often get to see. That's the kind of content that we're afraid to post. That's the kind of content that we're afraid of being judged for. It's like, I thought you're supposed to be some business guru. What are you doing spending an hour learning some song? That's the thing that humanizes you. The question was about engagement and growth. Like that's how you get engagement and growth, is showing the human side of you. The thing that, if that was me 5 years ago, I would have been incredibly embarrassed to share that. I'm singing. I don't have a good singing voice. So I'm singing out loud to some language that I don't know, probably making mistakes all over the place, dancing on my trampoline and smashing my phone over, right? It's like the most imperfect thing ever. But that moment of creativity and posting, people are already DMing me with like reactions, laughing, celebration, party, more than a typical story would get, more than just a, guys, today you need to focus. Let me talk about focus for the day, right? So the most engaging and growth content is the stuff that you are afraid to share. Your story, creativity, the creative idea that you've got there in your mind that like, oh, I could never post that. Like that's the thing to post. And then that's the thing to post consistently. And that's what will draw you in. Like your humanity, your vulnerability, those stories are the things that will make people love you and want to dive deeper into your world. It doesn't mean, this is where people struggle, is like, how do I be the expert, but then also show that I don't have all the answers and I'm still afraid? A lot of people, like if you look on Instagram, it's just that everybody looks perfect and the branding is perfect and the cars and everything is perfect. When you're too perfect, people actually can't connect to you. They need to know that you're a human. And in your humanness is the then permission for people to actually listen to your advice, because people won't listen. You might have all the best advice in the world, but people won't listen to your advice until they know that you're like them. And so that's the content that we're the most afraid to share, because we don't want to go back to being that person. We're embarrassed by this stuff about ourselves. But in sharing that is the thing that opens up the world to you to get that growth and engagement. So back to the question of what's the most engagement content for the rest of the year, that's what I would focus on. The stuff that you're afraid to post, sharing your story, taking me deep inside your insecurities, vulnerabilities, show me you doing the things that you do that make you human, that people really connect with. That's my thought of the day with your questions. Now, obviously, turn it over to you guys. So put your hand up, try to get to as many as I can. Niles already got his hand ready to go. What do you got, man?
Thanks. This is awesome. And I love that. This is, that's something I've been struggling with, I'll be honest with you, but at the same time, and so I'm going to ask a technical question. I asked you this in the past somewhere else, but when it comes to the actual tracks that you use, because my background, I love to dance. Dance fitness is actually my background. And now I'm moving somewhat away from it, but I love it. And I still want to show that playful side. And that was a big part of my life. So I want to be able to show that. Again, technical side was the actual, I love that. You're dancing there. The idea is technical side. How long is a track allowed? Did you use the real track or did you get an edit of that actual song? Because I love that song too, but I'm not that I'll use it. I want to get an idea of what will actually put a red band against me if I did something.
Yeah, great question. And Niall, if it becomes your business, then you start doing the research and the work. Some tracks, some companies care a lot, some companies care zero. For me, because I'm not in the music, like music is not my game. I just recorded it on Instagram. It was an IG live story, and those don't get typically picked up or banned or anything. If I were to turn it into a YouTube video, it might. I don't know. Pata Pata is a pretty obscure song that most people don't really know about. But if you pulled a Taylor Swift song, it's probably going to get blocked or demonetized, right? Those are the two options. Either block it or they demonetize it. So at the beginning, though, don't let that stifle the creativity. I was feeling that song because Zane put it in my head. So now I have to dedicate an hour to figure out the lyrics to this song. And I was frustrated and I slow it down and I speed it up. And then I finally get it. And you get to see how happy I am that I knock over the phone and it's just so exciting. And that will live fine on Instagram. And even if it just disappears in 24 hours and I don't do anything else with it, awesome. If I download it and turn it into a YouTube video, maybe that gets blocked and it doesn't see the light of day. But if I'm going to keep doing it, then I'd have to pick songs that are going to get through. And that becomes the business to know which songs get through. But at the beginning, don't let those questions stifle the creative output. Because if I spent that time thinking, I wonder if this song is going to get blocked. I wonder if this is going to, then I don't make the song. And then that moment is gone. Right. So we just start overthinking right away from the beginning instead of just creating. And yes, you'll make some mistakes. I mean, I didn't mic myself up. I didn't set up the camera when I'm doing the full shot. I'm only on like the bottom half because I don't have the stand to make it happen, right? Overthinking all that stuff then leads to the creativity going away and then nothing gets created instead of this magical moment that was created, right? So
fair enough. That's
it's
awesome.
Going to be your business. You have to know it.
Of
Otherwise,
course.
Go create, go make. You'll learn as you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it.
Cool. iPhone has her hand raised. Welcome, iPhone.
Ivan, this is the first time I have the courage to show my face.
Hey, she's doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Good job. I love it.
I love salsa. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I dance every weekend on the beach.
Nice.
So, yes.
Salsa on the beach is hard.
Yeah, we have a concrete lake floor.
Oh, okay, good. Because salsa on sand is you can't turn for anything. So that's good. I love it.
Yes. I'm following you on the salsa scene as well. But my name's Olivia. I've been hiding, but now I'm coming out. But there's an opportunity to partner with company. I'm doing international. My dream is to do nursing training, and I know that my purpose is aligned with this company's purpose. They have a little size, like Presence Christian Missionary training healthcare workers, but not nursing project. I'm expanding their market to China. But we've been talking for a few months and they're not paying me anything. And then now they give me I asked for Zen, the man don't sign a non-disclosure agreement. They want me to work exclusive with them without a pay structure or a partnership contract. But it is my passion. And I've been trying to take off for over 10 years and I couldn't by myself. Should I just keep on serving them and giving them for free? Or should I say draw a line on the sand, say either you pay me as a consultant or an employee, or let's draft up a contract.
So first off, I wouldn't sign an NDA that prevents you from working with other companies, because your passion, I would split this up. Like, your passion is to be in this space. Your passion isn't to be with this one company. There's lots of companies who you could do this thing with. Your passion is to be in this space. So anything that prevents you from being in this space, that locks you into one company, especially unpaid, I'm not a fan of. If you look at what I do with YouTube stuff, I've seen everybody's channels. I don't sign NDAs for anybody. When I was in the venture capital business, I saw so many deals of different businesses. We never signed an NDA because it becomes your reputation. If you screw one person over, or you share details of somebody, that damages your entire reputation. Like, if Zan the man, who's the Built to Serve coach, if he's out sharing, oh, you know what Olivia said to me in our private session last week, it's like, then it's over. Like, his entire reputation as a coach is gone. You have to keep information confidential. That becomes your reputation. So definitely taking anything out that's exclusivity. I like the idea of doing free work at the beginning. If people don't recognize your value, the thing with free work is you have to do free work with ideal clients. So at the beginning, you're doing the free work, you're building up reputation, you prove yourself, but is this an ideal client who can ultimately pay you? And they might be doing the ideal work that you want to get into, but they may not be the ideal client for you. Yeah, you're already shaking your head. So yeah,
they were like, we don't have any funding. And I was like, well, let's draft we split the cost and the revenue. And they were like, but we don't know how many students you can get and market. And so there's nothing set. Yeah, go ahead.
So you want to be in the space, and doing free work is great to start, but they have to be with ideal clients. So if it's not this client, then it's finding more people. Now you have something to show. Now you've done it. I mean, it's great. Don't feel like you made this terrible decision. Now you've got some experience in the field that you can point to. Now you've built some extra contacts and connections. Now you've built some momentum, and you've also shown to yourself that you really do like this. When you're just looking at it, you don't know if you actually love it, but now you're in. It's like, I actually do love this thing. Now It's a matter of finding more companies to work with, not being tied down to this one client that doesn't, like, it's not even it's not having funding is one thing, but also not being willing to work something out. It's a mindset shift too, right?
Yeah.
Those are not the ideal clients that you want to be chasing down. So if I'm you, be looking at, okay, who are 10 other companies that are trying to do the same thing? And how can I go and prove myself at the beginning, even if it's free work, but that I provide so much value that I want to work with them. Even using Zan as an example, he joined my YouTube gaming live streams where we play League of Legends and answer questions. And he brought so much value that then I'm looking for, like, how do I help Zan out more? Like, I love this guy. I love collecting good people. How do we do something together? So the first starting point was connecting with other people. I connected him to Jason. It's like, hey, you need to do an IG live with Jason. Who's Jason? Don't worry about it. You're going to love him. He's great. You guys will get along great. You both have like the biggest smiles in the world, the biggest hearts in the world. You'll love each other, right? So he's like, all right, IG DMs Jason, and they do their thing. That then led to Zan, becoming the Built to Serve coach. So that's doing free work and building your reputation to the point where opportunities happen. But if the people in the company aren't giving you opportunities and are just making you work for free and sign non-disclosure and exclusivity agreements, it's just not the right fit. So now it's just branching out. Find 10 other companies who are doing similar things where you can come and bring your value to, help them, and then work your path towards getting paid for it.
Yeah, there's a thing about Christian. It's a lot of volunteer serving. It's just not the business mentality. And I really want to combine the two, but, it's hard to find in a space. Maybe it's just my scarcity. I thought, they're Christians, values are aligned, so yeah.
But listen, there's a lot of people who will have values aligned that just may not be a Christian organization. Like there may be there's a lot of for-profit companies run by Christians who have strong values. Right?
Okay.
And so those are the people who you might want to search out instead of always living in the nonprofit world. I love nonprofit. I love free. Like, what are we doing here? This is free. You guys bought a book for $15 or something, or some of you might have just pirated it. But in order to do this, in order to do the free stuff, you have to also have an income stream to support you and your organization. And the more you build up an income stream, the more your team can also contribute. You know, Sandra, my assistant, is in here and she sets all this stuff up for me. So I can afford to hire her to do this, to allow me to come here and do this, right? So there's lots of organizations who are making money, who also, like, not every company has a devil soul, right? They're living the mission, the values, but also are making money and would love what you're bringing. You just have to do the work to go find those people.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Good luck. And hey, welcome. Thank you for turning on your camera for the first time and asking a question. That's great. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Who's next? Jose, what do you got?
Great to see you. Just want to ask I have a couple of questions, but I'm going to ask one now. And if there's more time and I can come back to it, great. In the book, when you talked about when you left your first company with your partner, and then you realized what you're going to do, you decided to model the success after Bill Gates. And you talked about how you focused on forming partnerships and alliances. And I just wanted to get maybe a little bit more feedback on that. Like, specifically, I'm in the process of starting a nationwide quick service restaurant with a healthy approach. And so I've been one way that I formed a partner in alliances was bringing into a fold an old business colleague who has over 20 years of marketing experience. And I partnered up with him to kind of help me in the forming of the company and being partners. But I'm trying to figure out just a little bit more on that. Like, if you were starting a quick service restaurant, I guess, what might be some of the partnerships and alliances that you might look to form?
So what I meant in the book wasn't so much bring a business partner into your company, because that's like getting married. So most business partnerships fail because people look at, well, they have this skill set and I have this skill set. It's going to be perfect. Meanwhile, your values are completely different. And so you're in the dating phase. Hey, you have 50, I have 50. Let's start this company together. But because the values are a mismatch, it really is like you need to date before you get married. So I'd be, it's not that partnerships can't work out. Just you need to treat it like it's going to be a marriage. You might spend more time during the week with them than your husband or wife, right? I mean, that just the reality of starting the business. So you better really like them. So it doesn't mean don't make that partnership, but I would test something small. Work on one thing together before you go and do some big thing together. Like, what's the first step that you guys can take together? There's a guy who emailed me to say, hey, I want to help you with your email marketing. Okay, great. Write me one email and see what it looks like. And I liked it. So then I hired him to do 10 emails. Okay, great. So now we're going to see what he comes up with for his 10 emails. And if maybe the more people hang around me, the more I just start businesses with them. Right? It's like, this is what I love to do. Zane now has a business together. Drew has a business together. Like Alex, all these people, like, the more time we spend together, the more I'm looking for opportunities. And it just gravitates towards doing some kind of company together. But it always starts with something small at the beginning. Okay. So that's what I would do with him or her, like something small at the beginning to make sure that you work well together.
Well, he and I, like I said, we've had a long-standing relationship for about 15 years and we've worked together. And so, yeah, I'm figuring that out and I definitely value that feedback. But in terms of like the company itself, like how would I go about then let's say procuring types of partnerships and alliances that would be correct for the brand that don't involve equity and partnership?
Yeah. So you're looking at, how do I start? For me, if it were me, how do I start this business spending the least amount of money possible? Restaurants are the worst. It's like, it's the number one failure business in America. And especially now, right? So I'd look into what Mr. Beast is doing. Ghost kitchens.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. Find people restaurants are struggling right now. You find the companies who can make your product, whatever you're selling, whose ethics and values kind of fit with what you're doing, and find a way to connect. You don't have to worry about going like nationwide yet, but you start. What city are you in?
I'm in Philly, and I'm looking to open either in Philly and or Miami.
Yeah, but like do Philly. You're in Philly. Don't worry about Miami. How are you going to do Miami? You got to be in Miami. Like you got to make it happen. Philly's a big enough market.
Definitely.
You're not in some tiny little rural middle of nowhere, right? So you're in Philly. So you want to actually go and meet restaurant owners and pitch them the idea. And the model's already been proven. People are already doing this, and restaurants are struggling right now to figure out a business opportunity. And if they can make some extra money without having to do, a lot of extra work, they're not spending any time marketing. They already have the staff and the team and the ingredients and everything else, right? That's your best bet. And then prove it in Philly. And then you might need 5 locations in Philly and then worry about Miami. But I'd probably go somewhere closer to Philly just for your own sanity and traveling and all that stuff.
All right. Thank you so much.
Makes sense? How's our time? Lady, Lexi, quick, what do you got?
I was asking you something about the extension. And then I asked you about .club. And you said, no, .club is for Clubhouse. So are the only ones suitable the ones you end with .com for general websites? Or can we also use, for instance, .live?
.com is just the standard. That's what people, I would default to a .com if you can, or put your name. Just find some way to get a .com, like a .live. So I use Evan Carmichael .live. We have one. If you want to go to my live gaming channel tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern, you type in Evan Carmichael .live, it'll forward to the YouTube stream. Especially with .live and in Movie Makers, you asked about .club. .club, the perception is it's a Clubhouse thing. .live, the perception is it's a live thing. So if you're going to be if it's Lady Lexi .live, the perception is you're going to lead me to a live stream of some kind. It's going to go to your Instagram where you're going live, or a YouTube channel where you're going live. But if it's just a website and you're not going live, it's just a disconnect. So I mean, .com is ideal. If you're going to go .net or .us or .whatever, it can all still work. I think honestly, the website is becoming less and less important. But if you had to pick something, I would go.
.com is taken. That's what the thing is, and I can't reach the owner.
Yeah.
So she just transfers it to her Facebook page. And I know there's also the live with an F. And since I always talk about Lady Lexi's Live on the Road.
Yeah, Lady Lexi something. Lady Lexi, whatever else, .com. And so if you really want to chase it down, you can. I mean, Brendan Burchard tells the story of it took him 6 years, I think, to get Brendan.com.
Yeah.
Where he just every 3 months emailed the guy again, like, hey, if you're ready to sell, hey, if you're ready to sell, hey, if you're ready to sell. The guy who owns Evan.com is not using it. It's forwards to some hotel in Germany or Russia or something. I don't know, or maybe Holland. I don't know. It just forwards to some. They're not using it, right? But I don't care enough about Evan.com. And if Evan Carmichael was taken, I would have it believe Carmichael. It's like it almost doesn't matter. More important is you creating the content, building your brand. But I think the only thing you want to do is not create confusion. If you put a .club or .live, it creates confusion.
True.
It's like the name. I don't think a company name really matters that much. Like, what did Evan Carmichael mean before Evan Carmichael? What did Xerox mean? Like the guy who made Xerox picked his name because he wanted a name so difficult to pronounce that once you got it, you wouldn't forget it. Like Xerox is crazy. What kind of name is that? How do you pronounce that? You look at it on the sheet, you have no idea what that means. But once you got it, you don't forget. Jason Wells, right? Everybody messes up Jason. Nobody puts a Y in Jason, right? It's a weird spelling. But in his branding, it's all about the why. And so you remember, oh, why? Because his purpose-driven brand helps you figure out your why. And so his why, he made that work for him. So Jason Wells with the Y now is easy to know that that's who it is versus any other Jason out there. So the brand is what you make it. You just don't want to have, when you attach yourself to something that already has meaning, it means something. When you create something brand new, you can attach the meaning you want. In American, election debates, the presidents or the president-to-be always has the pin of the U.S. flag because the U.S. flag means something. So they're trying to attach themselves to that symbol. So when you're using symbols or extensions that have meaning, you have to make sure you match the meaning. Otherwise, you create a new symbol. You know, the airplane means something to me. I mean, it might have some kind of meaning, but in general, people don't really know what it means. I'm assigning meaning to it. The name Evan Carmichael, I'm assigning meaning to it. So I'm okay with anything. Pick whatever you want. I just don't want to confuse people in the process because you're picking a name that doesn't represent, or like an extension that doesn't represent your actual brand.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
If you want to get a copy of Built to Serve and join us live for our next training with me to ask your questions, you can go get the book right there next to me, right there. I'll see you there. I'll see you to get the book. It's a good one. Much love.